Namaskaram, the South Indian is here. Look at that. Look at that image. What can be more beautiful? I mean, particularly from the aesthetic point of view. Today is a very special day because the idol of Rama has been revealed to the world, and we see that this particular idol, which is being sculpted by a sculptor from Mysuru, Arun Yogiraj, represents a child boy prince Rama, who is in a Jnana Mudra, which is basically exuding knowledge and wisdom. Of course, he has all the motifs as we've often seen and read about in classical text concerning Lord Rama. He is not the shrill and strident Rama that we often speak about and refer to. This is a Rama who is aesthetically beautiful, something that we have seen as South Indians in several temples. The motifs are of course Om, he also has the swastika, he is wearing a nama, which is basically what the Vaishnavites or the gods representing the avatar of Vishnu wear. He also has a bow and arrow in his hand, but overall his expression is that of a god who represents peace, who represents Jnana, that is Jnana in Hindi, and who represents wisdom, Viveka and knowledge. With that, let's start the show today. Vanakkam. Today we are going to speak about Udhayanidhi Stalin. Udhayanidhi Stalin has yet again said that he is all for the Ram Mandir, but opposes what was done before that, which is the demolition of the Babri Masjid. Wise words, some may say, but then logically and even if you speak about legalese, this is not correct, it is erroneous. Just days before the Pran Pratishtha ceremony on 22nd of January in Ayodhya, even as Prime Minister Modi is planning to visit Dhanushkodi and Sri Ranganatha Swami temple in Sri Rangam, Minister of Youth Development and Sports and Chief Minister Mukha Stalin's son Udhayanidhi Stalin has yet again stirred a hornet's nest over the Rama temple. You know, more than anything else, Udhayanidhi went blatantly against what the DMK stands for, anti-religion. He said, and I quote him, said DMK is not against any belief or religion. We don't have a problem with the temple coming up in Ayodhya, but we don't approve of it coming up after demolishing a mosque.
கலைஞர் ஏற்கனவே சொன்னார், எங்களுக்கு நாங்கள் எந்த மதத்திற்கும் எந்த ஒரு நம்பிக்கைக்கும் எதிரானவங்க கிடையாது. அங்கே கோயில் வர்றது எங்களுக்கு பிரச்சனை கிடையாது. ஆனால் அங்கே இருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த மசூதியை இடிச்சிட்டு அங்கே கோயில் கட்டினது தான் எங்களுடைய எங்களுக்கு அந்த உடன்பாடு கிடையாது. நம்முடைய பொருளாளர் ஏற்கனவே சொல்லியிருக்கிறாங்க, ஆன்மீகத்தையும் அரசியலையும் ஒன்னாக்காதீங்கன்னு சொல்லுங்க.
Well, I know he is quoting his grandfather, Kalainger Karunanidhi, but it's out of context because Kalainger Karunanidhi was far more erudite and logical than Udhayanidhi Stalin. I am sticking my neck out and saying it. Before Udhayanidhi was of course DMK MP T.R. Balu, who said, and I quote him, DMK advocates brotherhood and has never linked politics and spiritualism and taken advantage of it. Faith in God is one spiritual quest. It is an individual's right. Using bhakti, that is faith, for political mobilization and vote bank politics and doing politics on the basis of people's belief is against the soul of India and its constitution. It is not good for the nation's future. All right. Well, it is not the first time that Udhayanidhi Stalin has commented on what we can term as religion and Hindu philosophy. His comment on Sanatana Dharma, again erroneous, worked as fodder for the opposition when he said,
சனாதன எதிர்ப்பு மாநாடு என்று போடாமல் சனாதன ஒழிப்பு மாநாடு என்று நீங்கள் இதை போட்டிருக்கிறீர்கள், இதை அழைத்திருக்கிறீர்கள், இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு பெயரிட்டீர்கள். அதற்கு என்னுடைய வாழ்த்துக்கள். சிலவற்றை நாம் ஒழிக்கத்தான் வேண்டும், எதிர்க்க முடியாது. கொசு, டெங்கு காய்ச்சல், மலேரியா, கொரோனா இதையெல்லாம் நம்ம எதிர்க்க கூடாது, ஒழித்து கட்ட வேண்டும். அப்படிதான் இந்த சனாதனம். சனாதனம் என்பதை எதிர்ப்பதை விட ஒழிப்பதே நாம் செய்ய வேண்டிய முதல் காரியமாகும். எனவே இந்த மாநாட்டிற்கு மிக பொருத்தமான தலைப்பு வைத்திருக்கிறீர்கள், அதற்கு என்னுடைய பாராட்டுகள். சனாதனம்னா என்ன? சனாதனம் அப்படிங்கிற பெயரே சமஸ்கிருதத்திலிருந்து வந்ததுதான். சனாதனம் சமத்துவத்திற்கும் சமூக நீதிக்கும் எதிரானது. சனாதனம்னா வேற ஒன்றும் கிடையாது. சனாதனங்கிறதுக்கு அர்த்தம் என்ன? நிலையானது, அதாவது மாற்ற முடியாதது.
In his latest comment on how the DMK is not against religion is not what the party has stood for many years. Also his contention that as to how the party is not against Ram temple but against the demolition of the Babri Masjid is once again technically erroneous and only in the context of the Supreme Court order. It may be recalled that in 2019 the apex court had delivered a historic verdict that paved the way for the construction of the Ram temple at Ayodhya. You and I may disagree with it, but it's a fact. The apex court said, and I am quoting the court, evidence in respect of the possessory claim of the Hindus to the composite whole of the disputed property stands on a better footing than the evidence adduced by the Muslims. Meanwhile, the Tamil Nadu government has announced its readiness to assist any devotee from the state who wishes to travel to Ayodhya for the inauguration of the Ram temple on 22nd of January. Tamil Nadu Hindi Religious and Charitable Endowments Minister P.K. Sekhar Babu said, and I am quoting him here, a man who seems to be accompanying Udhayanidhi Stalin in most places. He said, if any devotee wants to go to Ayodhya for the inauguration of Ram temple on January 22nd, I will convey their request to the CM. We are ready to help them. Is Udhayanidhi Stalin securing his constituency and in turn jeopardizing the chances of the India bloc? What really does he mean when he says something, because it sounds totally out of context and only for effect? I am saying that. Let me now invite all my guests who have joined us on the show. Narayan Lakshman, Senior Associate Editor of The Hindu, is on the screen right now. Also, we shall be joined by C. Rajasekaran, lawyer and founder of Voice of Tamil Nadu. Suresh Kochatil, who is a political analyst, is also here and on your screens right now. And Ramesh Sethuraman, senior journalist, is also with us. Vanakkam, hi, welcome to the show. Narayan, if I could start with you, is, like I said, we could all have our individual beliefs, we could all have, what we think about the entire issue. But the point is that, Udhayanidhi Stalin saying that he's against the demolition of a Babri Masjid, yes, as an emotional issue perhaps, but then that is totally going against the court's order. So you can't be possibly, saying one is right and the other is wrong, Narayan Lakshman.
Well, look, I found it very interesting, the statement of his that you put up. It said to me two things. One is that, of course, on this immediate issue, the DMK's view has several nuances, and that is that they are a party that allows for religious worship at the individual level, as the word spiritualism was mentioned. They have an open view with that, even if they don't advocate for it or espouse for it in their public pronouncements. But having said that, I think the second part of that message to me was that it is a force, the Hindutva and saffron politics is a force that the DMK continues to be wary of. And that is reflected in the second part of the comment, which is that while we are okay, or we are fine with the temple going up in Ayodhya and Hindus worshipping there, we do not support or approve of the fact that it is going up on a site where a mosque was pulled down. So that is the subtext within that, is to say we do not approve or give our stamp of approval to any dominance by one religion, and that is completely antithetical to Hindutva and what the BJP stands for, because the BJP is a religious party, and The third level, which I sort of could parse from the statement, is that Dravidianism itself, or the Dravidian philosophy of which in this current moment the DMK is seen as the standard bearer of, the Dravidian movement has evolved, has become more accommodating, and has changed very much from the previous tenor. You mentioned his grandfather, Udhayanidhi's grandfather, Stalin, M. Karunanidhi, who took a very different tenor. The Dravidian movement of 1967 conveyed very different messages. So now they have to allow for this soft border or porous border with other constituents, to allow for religious beliefs. But at the same time, there are certain red lines in the sand which they will not allow crossed. And that also explains to you the comments on the malaria and dengue and Sanatana Dharma earlier that Udhayanidhi made.
Yeah, and there I must stick my neck out and say that Udhayanidhi Stalin needs to read up. There is a big difference between Sanatana Dharma and Varnashrama, but it's all right. I mean, that is not his purpose, maybe to read, write and understand like Kalaignar Karunanidhi, whom I respect greatly for the erudition he brought to the table whenever he made, you know, any kind of a comment. Let me now go to Mr. Sethu Raman. Hi, how are you doing? Ramesh?
Vanakkam. Thank you,
Vanakkam,
Sudha.
Vanakkam.
After a long time.
Yes, Vanakkam. Great to see you. What do you make of this? For me, it smacks of hypocrisy all through. It seems like it's a cut and paste job. You know, on the one hand, you say we believe in religious beliefs. On the other hand, he will say, you know, when there is a time, he'll say there is no God. Then he will you know, try and quote what the great Annadure said, only one race, only one God. Man is all over the place. Come on. I mean, you can't say you believe in religious, you know, we believe in religious belief that is going against the kernel of Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, you know, all through. Whether they also quote Periyar, you know, who's also very revered, Tandai Periyar. I mean, what does he want to do? Because I think he's just sending out all these, you know, as and when need based kind of giving us sound bites which make no sense to anybody.
Yeah. So he is a bouquet of contradictions. So that's the way I would put it. So first and foremost thing, why he has made this statement? Because he don't want to antagonize their very important vote bank, which is Muslims. So that's why he has made a statement that, you know, we don't like temple because, you know, it was built on the based on top of the demolished mosque or whatever it is. On the other side, he says we are not against temple. For two reasons why he's saying is, again, he don't want to be seen as anti-Hindu because when the main state elections happened in Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh and other states recently, everybody, including India Alliance as well as BJP, said they were all talking about this one man's comment against Sanatana Dharma. In fact, that has garnered more vote for BJP, is what both the sides believe. And there was a significant backlash, and that is the reason why Stalin stepped in and he said that, you know, we will not talk about these kind of things in future and all those stuff. So he's soft pedaling at the moment. That is point number one. And second thing is, typically, if you see the Dravidian parties which has been in power, and DMK, as far as DMK is concerned, they say that they don't have any belief in God. Most, you know, they have the atheist ideology. Having said that, they are at the same time trying to control the temple and temple properties, not just managing the properties or accounts, but they also kind of appoint officers whose actions are questionable, including, you know, entering in Agama Shastras and stuff. What they say is they are never against any temple being built, because typically what HRNC does under their rule does is, when you build a temple, they will forcefully enter and then, you know, take over
but Ramesh, we are digressing here. We can't digress from the topic. I'm taking a break right now, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm coming back in a jiffy, and then of course I shall speak to the other guests as well, Sri Rajasekaran as well as Suresh Kochatil.
$392 pillars, 44 doors. Prime Minister prays ahead of the big moment. Special rituals in Ayodhya. All eyes on Ram Lala.
पूरी दुनिया उत्सुकता के साथ 22 जनवरी के ऐतिहासिक क्षण का इंतजार कर रही है.
Pran Pratishtha. Rolling coverage. Only on News9 Live.
Of course, we are discussing what Udhayanidhi Stalin has said. He said that, I'm all for the coming up of the Rama temple in Ayodhya, but I oppose it because it's been built after the Babri Masjid was demolished. Kind of confusing statement, but then as always, what do you expect of politicians? C. Rajasekaran, who's lawyer and founder of Voice of Tamil Nadu, is on the screen right now. Rajasekaran, vanakkam.
Namaskar.
How come that I say vanakkam to you and you say namaskar to me? Because I live in Delhi.
No, not like that. Everybody is being forced, or there is a tacit understanding with the present regime. So better not fight with them. So go with the, sail in with the tide.
Right, very well said, but I will still say vanakkam. So Rajasekaran, what do you think about this kind of a statement which is Udhayanidhi Stalin has made? You must have heard me earlier. The whole thing is that it's very confusing. He says, we are not against any kind of religious belief. Really? All through my life, I've only studied about DMK, philosophy and their political ideology about there is no God. They only believe in humanism. They believe in a casteless society, religious, they're anti-Brahmin, etc., which is fantastic. But the point is, he says, and particularly it came up on a mosque which was demolished. You are a lawyer, Rajasekaran. We know what the Supreme Court said about it. So he doesn't know both, I think.
No. I would totally agree with what Udhayanidhi Stalin had said with regard to Ram Temple, because he is playing into the hands of BJP. I see this as a fixed match, because when he spoke about Sanatan Dharma, the elections in North India, it was a sweep for BJP. Now he says he has no problem with Ram Temple, but it was demolishing a mosque and building it is the issue. Fact of the matter is, the Honorable Supreme Court, because we don't have an higher court other than the Supreme Court. The highest apex court of this country is Supreme Court, and we have to definitely go by the verdict of the Honorable Supreme Court. And if there is a court of appeals beyond that, definitely this would have gone many more years. Okay, keeping that aside, what Udhayanidhi Stalin spoke about the Ram temple is nothing new for me, because he is DMK is getting closer with BJP by so many
Rajasekaran, that's a revelation, I say. It's shocking.
Yes, that is true. That is true. I mean, this people, right-wing supporters and all these people would be giggling and laughing. But the fact of the matter, again, I reiterate, there is a tacit understanding. Otherwise, you wait and watch what is going to happen in the Lok Sabha elections in Tamil Nadu. Definitely, though BJP has no cadre at the roots, or no members, or only it is a party with leaders, as claimed by that ex-policeman, that they are a party with leaders. And a party which is fighting against Nota may win 3 or 4 seats. Don't be surprised if that happens also. Without an understanding, without whatever it is being spoken behind the scenes, definitely it is going to happen. And they will blame ADMK for splitting and multiple, all this stuff. But Tamil Nadu on a whole, we the people think differently. We don't celebrate Udhayanidhi, or we don't celebrate BJP. We neither celebrate Congress, or we neither celebrate ADMK. We want development, we want corruption free, we want good governance. Whoever gives, Tamil Nadu people will support. But in the past, it was two iconic leaders. One was Kalanjar and one was, MGR, Kalanjar, Jayalalitha. Now nobody is there. The field is free for everybody to play politics, and which Udhayanidhi is rightly the future legal political heir of DMK. He is trying to establish himself by saying that he will ensure he will defeat or finish Sanatan Dharma. And after a month or couple of months later, he says, I have no issues in Ram temple, and only demolishing a mosque and building a temple is a problem for me. And this is contradictions.
I'll come back to you. So, Rajasekaran has a very, very interesting argument, as it were, where he says that DMK is hand in glove with the BJP, and it is all about you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Narayan Lakshman, my whole contention is...
I may sound cynical today, but when it happens, you will agree with me, Sudha. I know you will agree. You are very honest in accepting or conceding with me.
Of course I will.
Me too, in the same feel or same
yes,
spirit.
We will agree that we made a mistake. Narayan Lakshman, I hope I'm not making a mistake this time around, because like I said, I picked up this story today because it smacks of hypocrisy from top to bottom. Number one, about saying, you said in your opening comments that maybe the DMK wants to, kind of also keep their constituency happy, that, so they say that, religious beliefs, we also believe in it, but Rama we don't, and we are okay with Rama, demolition of Babri Masjid from top to bottom. Narayan Lakshman, would you say that it is only playing to the gallery? There is absolutely no honesty about it. There is absolutely not even truth about it, and it is absolutely opposing the facts when we speak about Udhayanidhi Stalin and the party that he represents. You have to unmute, Narayan.
Sorry, I must respectfully take a different stance, because I think everybody in politics, firstly, is doing this. I'm not therefore condoning or in any way supporting Udhayanidhi Stalin's positions. But look at, for example, the BJP speaks so highly of, let's say women and gender in the context of gender relations, that it worships them as the sort of, female goddess figures and all that. Yet we know what happened in Kerala. We know how, there's so many incidents. I don't want to get into specifics because it looks like mudslinging. But this hypocrisy is not unique to the DMK, if you call it that. I think what one has come to expect across the spectrum from all political parties is that you will vary your political stance from time to time to suit convenience and vote bank politics. But at the same time, just as much as the BJP has a core plank that it stands upon, which is saffron, which is Hindutva, which is that Hinduism is the dominant religion of this country, even though the constitution speaks of secularism. The DMK speaks of Tamil exceptionalism. It speaks of social justice. It speaks of annihilating caste. And both parties, and in fact, every other party probably you can name, goes against the core plank that it believes in. But that doesn't mean we therefore, become apolitical or write off all parties as, failures, and then we literally have no democracy. We have anarchy. So I think the point is you need to hold on to certain analytical threads that underlie each party. You have to see them in historical context. You have to understand what goals they are working towards in the broader scheme of things. And then you have to understand their motivations with particular statements, whether they are contradictory to their core plank or whether they are completely synchronized with it. So I think that is the big thing. So for example, when I say what is the motivation, I would say for the BJP, it's to gain total control of India, its institutions.
Sure. I totally agree, concur with what you're saying. But his first line, DMK is not against any belief or religion. Belief, yes. Religion, no. Because they were, for lack of any other word, like we say apolitical, they were a-religious. That is what one has read reams and reams of it. He said, I don't have a problem about a temple coming up in Ayodhya, but we don't approve of it after demolishing the mosque. I'll ask you one thing, Narayan Lakshman. The entire world, and we know that when Jallikattu was concerned, a few years ago, we saw, protest after protest. but the DMK supports it. Now, there are 2 points of view why they do it, but you can't possibly say, listen, I think I am all for Jallikattu, but it should not have bulls. I mean, that's a bit of a much of a problem. That's how I read it. I think he's just playing up to the gallery. Ramesh Sethuraman, I want to come to you and ask you that, you know, when it comes to the legal matter, and I only go by the courts, Rajasekaran must be smiling now. After all, I am joking, but then we all go by only by the courts. The point is that, you know, the courts, when the court, the apex court, when the honorable court has spoken, they say, and I am reading it out to you for ladies and gentlemen, we need to know this, and if Udhayanidhi Stalin is watching it, or maybe T.R. Balu, anyone, they should know that, you know, they said the Muslim side was required to establish possession of the disputed land according to Indian law under the existing law. Proprietorship of land can be established either by adverse possession or exclusive possession. To prove adverse possession of property, one must prove exclusive control over that property for over 20 years. That's the moot point. The court, amongst other things, spoke about this. So, Stalin, that is Udhayanidhi Stalin, is way out of line when he says about the Babri Masjid demolition. I am very sad. Any monument which is raised to the ground, I am very, very sad. But you are in a responsible position of being a minister, and talking like this is completely irresponsible.
Yeah. So there were many arguments that were put in front of the court. So even in the past, we have seen even KK Mohammed, so from ASI. So, you know, what are all his findings, and he has clearly come out and spoke about it as well. And especially during Narasimha Rao's period, at that time only, he nationalized that land. So nobody, even by that logic, the possession was with the government, not with any of the Muslim bodies for that matter. So they cannot say that, you know, these guys were having possession and that guys. And moreover, in the past, if you look at it, this mosque was considered to be under the control of Shias, and they were very, right from beginning, they were very happy to hand it over for this Ram Lalla temple also. Some of the imams have spoken about, were vocal about it as well. Having said that, the other side, like Sunnis and many other groups, so they were all in fact trying to create this whole problem, and they said that we also have control and all these things. So that's where the entire issue came up. So we have seen all these things, and as you rightly said, it is all about who has got the ownership, who has got the possession. In fact, we have even seen, if you look back during Rajiv Gandhi's regime, right? During that time itself, we have seen the foundation stone being laid first.
All right. Okay. I have to take a break now, and I'm coming back after the break, and we'll speak to Rajasekaran. But you know, a little nugget about we South Indians. Prime Minister Modi is going to the Ranganatha temple in Srirangam. There is one idol of a Muslim princess there, and who is worshipped day in and day out. That's what the South stands for. See you in a moment.
वर्ष 2070 तक भारत नेट जीरो का लक्ष्य हासिल करेगा.
There is certainly a wall of capital coming into the clean tech, climate tech space, not just in India but across the world.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
$392 pillars, 44 doors. Prime Minister prays ahead of the big moment. Special rituals in Ayodhya. All eyes on Ram Lala.
पूरी दुनिया उत्सुकता के साथ 22 जनवरी के ऐतिहासिक क्षण का इंतजार कर रही है.
Pran Pratishtha. Rolling coverage. Only on News9 Live.
Since the last 2 years, Khalistani terror groups are threatening Indian diplomats in Canada, US, UK and Australia. Investigations of these threats led us to the first ever abduction and killing of an Indian diplomat, Ravindra Matre, in UK's Birmingham in 1984. Our months-long investigation finally led us to the murderer of Ravindra Matre, who has been hiding in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir for the last 40 years. Watch our exclusive documentary, Murder of an Indian Diplomat, where we reveal the man who killed Ravindra Matre.
Stop searching, start streaming. Download the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
Welcome back. The South Indian is here. We're discussing about what Udhayanidhi Stalin said. He said that the party believes in religious beliefs, most of them, and also he says that I'm all for the coming up of the Rama temple in Ayodhya, but not because of the mosque which was demolished. I have Suresh Kochatil also now, who is now joining us on the phone line. Suresh, can you hear me? Suresh, can you hear me?
Absolutely clear.
All right, Suresh, what do you think of this statement, which I think is totally schizophrenic, as it were? On the one hand, he says we are a party which believes in, we've got religious beliefs. He says we are all for the Rama temple, but not because it was built on in Tamil. He said it, which, you know, I do not know how you transliterate that. But he said that we do not actually support a temple which has come up on a mosque which was demolished, obviously making a reference to the Babri Masjid. So, from the point of legalese, wrong. From the point of the party believing, having religious belief, hypocritical. What do you think?
I think Udhayanidhi Stalin is playing it safe because not earlier in the Sanatana Dharma row, he doesn't want to become a problem. Yeah. That is be very careful with his words. And when he tried to say something and which will create a controversy, that is only going to help the BJP for sure. And that is where they are worried, extremely worried, because he's seen as somebody who is kind of maverick in that sense of the word. Stalin does not speak so much as Udhayanidhi Stalin speaks. And that is the difference there. I think he is trying to be on the correct side of the Hindus, trying to say yes, and then he's trying to say yes, I'm on the other side too. So you got your both your legs on two boats, and that is where DMK will fall, because they cannot be. They could be either here or there. They can't be saying I'm secular and then they'll say I'm communal. No, it doesn't work that way. And I think if you look at any of the leaders from South India, I mean, to see even Kerala for that matter, there is a huge celebration that is going on across the state. There's something happening in Karnataka which the government itself is doing it.
Yes.
Something similar in Telangana. But why is it that Udhayanidhi Stalin is having to state this? And that is the most worrying factor, because why does he have to say that, you know, he's kind of for the temple but not in the mosque? And everybody knows the history of it. This was a title dispute. This was not a dispute about the Babri structure.
Yeah.
This was as to who held the land. That's it, period.
Yeah, absolutely right. Rajasekaran, let me get you on the screen right now, completely running out of time. Rajasekaran, tell me something. The balancing act over the years done by the DMK. Look, I will not even, everyone said, oh, Durga Stalin has got an invitation. So what? Durga Stalin is a woman in her own right. Just because she is married to Stalin and the mother of Udhayanidhi doesn't mean a thing. But do you think that over the years, like Suresh said, that this DMK's thing about keeping everyone happy is going to boomerang on them very badly?
Sudha, I totally agree with Suresh, and I also second his opinion. And again, in politics, you cannot ride two horses at a time. You have to either take your own ideological stand or go with the Hindutva right-wing stand. Here, you cannot say I am secular, but partly I am on the ideological stance of BJP. I don't mind going to temple. You cannot do that because it was not, DMK was formed by Annadurai, succeeded by Kalaignar Karunanidhi, and their main agenda or motto of the party was being secular, social justice and equality, and all this is not religious. It is all in the interest of the people. Of course, the Tamil pride, all this put in a nutshell, you are always with the people of the state and their mindset or reflect the mindset of the majority people. Because 90% has been repeatedly said by DMK leaders and Chief Minister Stalin, 90% of DMK members are Hindus, but they are with the ideology of DMK.
I mean, Rajasekaran, I have to go to, I'm completely on the screens right now, Prime Minister Modi's roadshow in Chennai, even as we are speaking about the controversy initiated by Udhayanidhi Stalin. That's the welcome that he got in Chennai. Narayan Lakshman, last question to you. These comments that he's been making, when the India bloc came, we all thought that here is an opposition and we all need one in a vibrant democracy. But Narayan Lakshman, do you think, much like Sanatana Dharma, this statement may also hurt the India bloc majorly, and which is very important because we need an opposition?
Absolutely, Sudha. I do agree, and I think Udhayanidhi is unfortunately deepening his reputation for muddying the waters of the opposition. Like your other panelists have alluded to, speaking on both sides of this equation, it dilutes the clarity with which the opposition can project a different vision. And unfortunately, there are other elements within the opposition, not least the Congress party, which have done the same. For example, in Kerala, the temple entry issue for women, they were caught off guard. So this is a real problem for all opposition parties in India, and it is definitely playing to the strength of the BJP. However, I don't fully agree that this is a disaster or the death knell of all opposition. I think like I said earlier, each of these parties still does have a core set of values and beliefs, and they do consider themselves an alternative voice to Sangh Parivar politics. And that is the voice of South India, in the Trinamool and others. That is the voice of West Bengal. There are different parts of India where our diversity is reflected in regional parties. So I don't think this means that it's the end of any of these parties. We should not take it too far either.
All right. And on that note, my thanks to Narayan Lakshman. My thanks to Ramesh, my thanks to Suresh. Sorry, Suresh, for the bad network, and also to Rajasekaran. Thank you so much for the story. And the South Indian is coming back in just a second. Wait for me. One of the beauties of Hindu philosophy and even religion is the counter-religious movement, which is Bhakti. Mirabai, remember, also in the south we've had several, like Akka Mahadevi in Karnataka. We've also had one great icon called Basavana, who has now been declared as the cultural leader of Karnataka. 12th century social reformer Basaveshwara, also referred to as Basavana, who is the founder of the Lingayat faith, has been declared as Karnataka's cultural leader. After Maharashtra, which declared Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj as the state's cultural icon, Karnataka becomes the second state in declaring a local and much revered saint philosopher as its cultural ideal. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah mentioned how Lingayat pontiffs in the state had demanded for this announcement, and Siddaramaiah said, and I am quoting him here, I am satisfied that our government has fulfilled this demand. I hope all pontiffs will bless our government. That's what the Chief Minister said. Siddaramaiah also added that Basavana was his ideological guru and recalled that it was on Basava Jayanti that he first took oath as Chief Minister way back in 2013. Now, many political watchers feel that the decision of the Congress was with the intent of appropriating Basavana and wooing the Lingayat community ahead of the Lok Sabha polls. Forest Minister Ishwar Kandre, who is a Lingayat himself, said, not at all, the cabinet decision had nothing to do with the upcoming polls. He said, and I am quoting him, Basavana advocated a casteless society. His principles are all the more relevant now at a time when communalism is rising. What is my take on it? Politics aside, Basavana was one of the major icons during the Bhakti period and movement, and even though he leaned more towards Shaivism, Basavana eschewed most of the organized religion practices and was against caste discrimination and also gender. His vachanas, words pregnant with meanings and messaging, are about giving equality amongst human beings in a casteless and genderless society, more importance than all the rituals which actually complicate and fog our minds. My naman is for Basavana, for what he stands for. And before the South Indian goes away, here is a documentary that you should not miss, or rather this is a special exclusive, and it's about with the interview with the Shankaracharya of Sharda Peeth, which is an exclusive to TV9 in the consecration ceremony which is coming up. There cannot be anything more relevant. Thank you for watching, and the South Indian now says, Vanakkam, enjoy the interview with the Shankaracharya of Sharda Peeth.